And welcome back everybody to Navigating the Aged Care System. Today we're going to be discussing residential aged care again and looking at particularly, some of the things that in regards to services that are required and what you'd be looking for, if you're shopping around for residential aged care. These particular webinars are brought to you by OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, and I'm Marie Montgomery, your host. I'd like to acknowledge the great work by COTA and the Navigators Trial, of which there are 63 across Australia. And I know Seniors' Rights here are doing a few as well, which is just fantastic. Today I have Ray Horsborough with me. Welcome, Ray.
Hello, Marie. Thank you for the invitation.
It's a pleasure. It's great to have you here. Ray's from Seniors' Rights Services here in Sydney. We're coming to you from Sydney today. And as I suggested, we're looking at residential aged care. So, Ray, tell us a little bit about yourself and I guess why you're so passionate about aged care and human rights.
Oh, thank you, Marie. Oh, well, I think that's an excellent place to start. Human rights. I've worked for a number of organisations over a lifetime in community organisations, both government and non-government. And I think it's that power imbalance sometimes you get when, and it's inherent in human services, that sometimes people's rights can be extinguished by the very nature of the service they're receiving. So I'm quite passionate, as most people are at Seniors' Rights Service, on on human rights, and ensuring that individuals have a voice in the care that they receive. And of course, the Seniors' Rights Service is a community legal centre. Yeah. We also have an older persons legal service that will speak with people regarding a whole range of older persons issues.
Yeah, they do an amazing service, and like you said, there's multiple facets to their service here in New South Wales, which covers all of New South Wales. So if we're looking at residential aged care, they're sometimes known, I guess, as aged care homes or nursing homes, but they provide a complex, coordinated approach to care where you reside in and it's your home. And I think it's really important, like you said, that we empower people so that they can shop around and know what it is that they need in their services. And empowering people is so important. Great. OPAN's advice along the journey has always been be prepared, research, talk to family members, get your will, your power of attorney, and all those details, really in place and be prepared.
Planning for later life. Those of us that are quite organised. Most of us, I've got to say, aren't necessarily organised, but this organisation is a good reference point, particularly talking to the solicitors about planning for later life.
Absolutely. And it just makes it so much easier. Often we find people in crisis, they're vulnerable, they're not sure how to navigate my aged care, even how to start the services. Yeah.
And if we can't assist, knowing a little bit about the issue that they're concerned about, we may be able to refer or provide information regarding other services that can help.
Beautiful. Thank you. So just in your right-hand corner as well is a button for Q&A. So please, Q&A us. I'm sure Ray's got a wealth of knowledge and expertise that he can help assist us with answering some of your questions. And of course, if he can't, we will research it for you and get back to you at some stage. There's also a Facebook group. We would love you to join the Facebook group. As you can see up on your screen now, left-hand corner you'll find groups. Go to Navigators and you will find where you can join and discuss it with other people. So share your tips and frustrations, I guess. It's a good way of chatting to each other and finding out how best to navigate this. So today we're really looking at how to apply for residential aged care facility, which we've kind of looked at in the last sort of steps coming through, but also what to look for when deciding on your residential aged care facility. And I guess some steps involved a bit of a checklist, which comes from the My Aged Care website, on how to move into residential aged care facility. And some of the important things that you need to think of, like Ray, we were talking about transport to appointments and, having your own GP and those sorts of things.
I think about a lot of people, it can be quite a daunting part of of later life, and I think there are some of us that make the transition a little bit more easier than others. We speak with people in residential aged care. The 920 aged care services in New South Wales, I've got to say, regarding a number of issues, and there are people that find the transition easy, others not so. If people move into an aged care home in their own community, it may be, it literally may be easier with having family, friends about their own doctor who can visit. There are variables in selecting a good in an aged care service. And off the cuff, visiting these 920 aged care services, there are some that are quite palatial, there are some quite classic, but it most certainly is a very good idea if these places offer, aged care services offer tours, they have a website, there are formal ways of finding how these organisations are performing via the Quality and Safety Complaints Commissioner, My Aged Care website, word of mouth. There are various ways, and I'm sure that the managers of organisations would welcome or offer tours and certainly be able to ask questions on your rights, because no one loses their civil, civic or consumer rights when they move into an aged care service. And that's one of the things we're always advocating for, to ensure that there is good quality care.
Yeah, absolutely. The Charter of Aged Care Rights very clearly depicts what is your right as you enter that or enter any aged care services.
Well, the Charter of Residents' Rights comes from the Aged Care Act, the principle of recipients' rights. I think the first right is for safe and high quality aged care.
That's it.
The second is to be treated with dignity and respect. It goes on to how to access complaints mechanisms. It talks about independence, talks about dignity of risk, it talks about, expressing concerns without fear. So really, I think that the community expects that aged care services will provide high quality aged care services in a congregate care situation. But of course, we've got to understand that, like any human endeavour, conflict is always inevitable, and sometimes aged care services may cause intentional factors that may not meet someone's needs.
Yeah.
So it's
I think
it is to reduce these instances. So talking to various people, information is really important.
And also communication, to gather the information, to be empowered to make decisions, to know what your ageing is about, how it fits, how it feels, and then I guess communicate any little things that you feel are not being met, particularly within that 14.
I think communication is essential for the prevention of future issues.
All right. So on that point, we'll just quickly do a practical on how to find a provider in your region. So we try to assist people in shopping around for aged care services. So we can find on the My Aged Care website, and thank you, Tom, he's got that up at the moment. If you just pop in a postcode, and you can find the aged care providers in that area, and you can choose 3 and you can compare and contrast. So here we've got just the one in Surrey Hills. Now it's up to the provider as well. I will put that caveat in to fill in this particular part of the My Aged Care website. So again, as Ray also mentioned, I would contact that particular provider and ask for a tour. And I think it's really important that you go in and you feel the environment. It's like looking for a home.
Sure.
There shouldn't be any differences or a flat.
That's right.
It's in the region that you really like. It's near family and friends.
Yes.
The
Aged Care Act says for providers to create a safe, home-like environment.
Yeah.
So you're exactly
because this is your home.
Right. It is.
Absolutely. Great. So thanks for that, Tom. had a little compare there. And look, I guess if we look at that clearly, and I can't see it that clearly, what have you got? Accreditation period. So I see on the left that means that they've got it recently accredited, and they'll be 3 years again for their next accreditation.
Well, there's been recent changes
That's
to
true.
the aged care accreditation.
Yes, spotlight.
There's 8 standards, and for organisations to receive Commonwealth subsidies to provide aged care, they must meet the standards, and they must adhere to residents' rights. So the standards are particularly important, and because of recent legislative changes under the Act, the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commissioner can arrive at any time to measure or carry out an audit of the quality of the service being provided. So that's an enhanced safeguard for the recipients of Commonwealth-funded aged care, particularly residential aged care, and could be appropriate to home care as well.
Absolutely, and I believe that's probably accessible as well, that information on your particular place that you're looking for. You can find out that information.
And again, it's that transparency, it's about the importance of that information.
Beautiful. Excellent. So what should I look for in a residential aged care facility? So for anyone out there saying, right, we need to do a little checklist, what are some of the things that you feel are important that someone should look for within their aged care facility? Shopping around.
A sense of community. Is it accessible to community? We've been talking about an individual's rights. How does the organisation feel about the rights of the recipient in an aged care service? Is there a resident relative meetings held on a monthly basis to air any concerns? Is there a pet policy? What about smoking? Some people are still smoking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aged care services may have their own policies that may, there are rights of the resident. The policies of the individual home may not be relevant to the rights. So you've got to ensure that your lifestyle will be protected in the aged care home that you're going to move into. Can people bring in food from the outside?
Yes.
Can you cook in an aged care services? What about dignity of risk? Can you take risks? There's a whole range of things, and I really don't think that any question could be out of order, because it's a long-term proposition.
Well, it's very individual as well, so what I might want, you may not. Does that make sense? So, meeting those.
I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
And I think the new standards, the new charter is talking about focus on the individual and meeting the individual needs of people.
Yes.
So I think what you've said is a really, really important. How is it going to impact my normal rhythm of life? Yeah. What I'm used to.
Yeah. And
to lower that could assist greatly.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that comes back to also knowing how you're going to be aging. Like having some real input into this is how I see myself aging, and changing that into a more positive, third journey.
Yes, and one of the standards you would know, and the rights, is consultation.
Yes.
Continuous improvement of the organisation, continual consultation with the person who's moving, the resident of the aged care service. Yeah.
I think also one of the most important things is meeting your cultural or diverse needs. And I think that really resonates with me in the charter and also within the standards, that if you are shopping around, that you bring the whole of you and your wonderful life, your kaleidoscope of what you are to that residential aged care facility, and that's acknowledged by all people in that facility.
And we're talking about religion, food, cultural, clothing, religious celebration, a whole range of things.
Absolutely. Great. All right. So, visiting, well, we sort of touched on how you should contact the provider, make a list of things that you would like in your service, and then I guess visit them. So we've got up on the screen here visiting, and this is all My Aged Care website. So we're navigating through for you and showing you how you can get answers, I think, to many of your questions. So it says in there what to take with you, and I would always take someone with me to check out where I was going to stay.
Yes, I think so. A relative or a good friend.
Someone that really knows.
Someone can possibly take notes. I'm sure the provider will be handing out their own package of their policy and procedures, which is really, really important.
Yeah.
So a friend, a relative that can be supportive. That's a good idea.
We had Melissa on one of the webinars earlier in the beginning, and talking about power of attorney. How important it is that it's somebody that knows you. Doesn't have to necessarily be a family member that we would assume would be the next of kin or that person. It's actually better if it's somebody that knows your nuances and what you, I guess, like and want, so that they can, I guess, assess, particularly if we tend to lose capacity with over time, that they will know exactly what it is that you like and want and be your voice.
Yes. Good point. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I've had some great panellists from Seniors' Rights Service, so a big thank you to you all for being on board. All right.
Also, we did mention transport, didn't we? And this can be an issue. So, wanting to stay integrated into the community, transport is of a particular importance. There are some residential aged care services that have their own transport. Under the agreement, the service agreement people sign, it'll say that you pay for. If you need to go to medical appointments, I think you mentioned in the past, a carer may need to accompany you.
Mm-hmm.
So transport and access to community activities is a really important thing, because sometimes we get feedback from people saying they feel a little bit alienated. It could be due to the geography. It could be due to the lack of transport.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very important issue as well.
And social support as well is pivotal, I think, when you go in to look at the residential aged care facility. What sort of activities is available, and can you go out on your normal, you do a Friday evening with your family? Is that
sure?
Yeah, which
and it would be okay to ask for a timetable of the monthly activities that the aged care service provides. I'm sure the residential aged care service may, in their own manual or their own brochures, have a sample of that. But that's also included in the standards under leisure and lifestyle, and could also be in the care plan, because residential aged care services have a responsibility and an obligation under the Act to ensure people maintain their independent living skills as much as possible, enjoy a normal rhythm of life where they have a good quality of life.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is really, really important.
Yeah.
Very, very important. And having that initial care plan, having a meeting with allied health professionals, family members, the friends that you were previously talking about, a family doctor that knows you or another doctor to make that future, the care plan and how that's going to be monitored is really, really important.
Yeah.
And particularly so it can be reviewed in a periodic way.
Yeah.
So it's about someone not losing their independent living skills and having
enabling.
Well, these are the words. Enabling and enjoying their quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. It's a big decision, isn't it?
Well, as I said before, it can be. I think we've all probably thought about it, and it's only in residential aged care. It's only 8% of people over 70 that actually go into residential aged care. In New South Wales, it's about 90,000 people.
Okay.
And people would be aware of the home care model, or the new consumer-directed care packages,
Yes.
which is to prevent early admission to residential aged care. And this ethos, the philosophy of the government, is for that, to keep people in their own homes as long as possible.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure as a community, I'm sure we all feel that that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because it maintains our community where we live. So there's a number of non-government organisations that receive subsidies to provide those services.
Yes, absolutely. And we found along this journey, when we've looked at Commonwealth Home Support and then also home care packages, just the differences in the packages and what people can have across Australia, and we've discussed waiting times and we've discussed many of those sorts of things. And what's so important to people is to maintaining their community, maintain that independence and that interaction with MenShed and all of these wonderful things.
Sure. And if people are contemplating a consumer-directed care package, again, that information is really important. Getting the information regarding fees, specific services provided. Information is really important.
Absolutely. So I'll go into that because there's there is a checklist on my aged care website that we can look at it, and there are specifics in what you should be going around and looking for. But we have a question here from Vicky. What happens if there is only one aged care home in my area, facility, but they don't offer a component of care that I require?
It's one of the, and I'm assuming this is a regional area, scarcity of resources. I think there's no doubt it's proven that rural areas suffer from a deficit in the number of organisations. There's no doubt about that. And the tailoring of individual services is really important. If the aged care service can't provide an individual package that meets the needs of that individual, unfortunately, I would assume it would mean having to get up and go elsewhere. And this is one of the negatives of the aged care system, where some providers will not be able to meet the needs of the individual. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
And I would suggest, Vicky, going back to the provider and perhaps even chatting to advocacy services as well. There may be some ways of manipulating that, or maybe looking at it from, communication.
Is more than welcome to ring up, and maybe a little bit outside our brief, but if we have a chat, or revisit my aged care. But if the services aren't there, as a community organisation, there's probably little we can do about that.
Thank you for your question, Vicky, and to anyone else out there, please don't hesitate in contacting us. We'll try and get on board and help you with that. Excellent. Okay, so we mentioned what we should look for in aged care facilities. So when we look at how do I apply, say for instance we found one here in Surrey Hills. How do I actually go about sort of applying, etc.? And thanks, Tom, you've brought it up on the website. Is there anything in regards to the offers?
Well, to apply for aged care, and we can only give the basic advice regarding this. We're a community organisation, but it is necessary to register with My Aged Care, which is the central government point for the registration of people who are requiring aged care. There is an aged care assessment. People will get a number. Someone will be sent out and assessed to determine someone's care levels, and what model of care is recommended to meet that person's individual needs,
Absolutely.
whether it be home care, whether it be residential care. My Aged Care will provide a list of those services in the person's area, and the person can contact those services. They will come out, they will offer up their specific care and services.
Yep.
This stuff can be, so it's taken from there. I'm specifically talking about home care there.
Yes.
Residential care, we've already talked about visiting and determining the capacity to meet needs.
Absolutely. Good. So we're now looking at moving in. So you're from your home and you're moving into a residential aged care facility. And like we mentioned earlier, it's a fairly big move. It can be traumatic if it's in a hurry and there are circumstances that have precluded that particular move. However, again, as we've advised, shopping around, getting in before looking at what you require beforehand is always good. There is a checklist. You can see underneath who should I tell there, Tom, the checklist of people. This is a really good thing. It's like when you move home and you've got all the services that you may be getting. For instance, Meals on Wheels may be coming, or you may have utilities that you're paying for in your home. It's just a checklist, I guess, of what to do before you leave your home to change the address, and I guess just to make life a little bit easier for you.
A good question, and when people pay the accommodation payment, the accommodation payment is for a room. So there are certain questions that people can ask, particularly if people have a lot of personal possessions.
Yes.
How much of my personal possessions can I move in? Can I move furniture in? Can I use my own bed? Remembering that no one loses their consumer or civic rights. However, that may conflict the policies of the aged care service. So we need to be very specific in the questions that we ask.
Absolutely.
Let alone the cat or the dog, or when the grandchildren can visit, or when my friends can visit.
Yeah.
So it's what we're talking about before, the normal rhythm of life.
Yeah.
How can I
continue
have a least restrictive environment and maintain what I'm used to?
Yeah.
And that's not always easy.
No.
And having a checklist like that is good. And include the personal stuff as well.
I think there's another checklist as well that prompts the questions that you need to ask when you are shopping around. Yeah. And they are the ones that you said, about the dog, the bird, and the grandchildren, and visiting hours in themselves. If they're, if I can just come and go, or is that
can I leave the aged care service to go down and have a meal? And a couple of drinks, etc.
Yeah, go to my usual Rotary meeting. Those sorts of things. And again, it's so important, so important. Okay, so we've got another question. All right, this is from John. What options are available if I don't receive an offer? I'm thinking from the residential aged care facility that he did not receive an offer.
John, there is a waiting list. There is a waiting list in aged care, and providers can be quite powerful, I guess, in who they take. Again, it comes back to this. Possibly in your area, there's a scarcity of resources. I can't answer that question with any great confidence because I don't know the circumstances. We always hope that there will be beds available for everyone. I think the community expectation is that there are beds available to all those that need it, based on relative need. But I'm sorry I can't answer that question without any great comfort.
I think you
But I think my aged care is as the one-stop shop should be
Yes.
assisting in
Yes.
that matter.
Absolutely. So, and that's an excellent point. Always go back to My Aged Care. You can ring them, or you can get onto your client portal, your specific portal, to see what's happening with your aged care services. You can change some of your personal details. You can actually, with CHSP, you can change some of the providers. You can actually do quite a bit in there. It's a newish addition. I didn't know about it until I had Alison McCann on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is, the bare reality is that not everyone can stay within their own community.
Yeah.
Sometimes the net has to be thrown out a bit further until possibly a place comes up in someone's own in someone's own community, and can be very much a gamble and a juggling situation.
Beautiful. Well, that's our half hour. Does go quick, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your Q&A. We'll be back shortly, and we'll have Ray, and we'll also have Rodney Lewis, who's a solicitor, coming to join us from Elder Law. We'll be talking more about fees, but also aged care agreements, and how important it is that you, I guess, seek assistance and really know what you're after before you sign anything. See you very shortly. Thank you, everybody.